you have any questions about what we do in Sorts like with museum running the using surfactants at our events? But I'm very, very excited to welcome our one of our journalists from to Howard Countian, and they will be talking about what's Howard make a history, what about the history of agriculture, about food security, about all the amazing farms and history and heritage that's not too far away, but honestly doesn't get talked about as much as it should here in Howard County. So we're very excited to welcome Leslie and Mary and Nathan and Kathy. Yes, Kathy. And a big thank you to Barbara, who is sitting in the back for organizing this panel today. So I mean, welcome everyone today, and we'll pass it over to Nathan.
Thank you all. Thank you for having us. Welcome to you all, and thank you for coming. I just want to say a big thank you to Han for helping us to coordinate this and giving us this opportunity and helping to make this all happen. My name is Nathan Glenn. I work with University of Maryland Extension as the Agriculture and Food Systems Agent or Educator. And so we have an office in Columbia, and my program has the main goals of helping the agriculture industry improve its profitability or maintain its profitability, and as well as conserve resources as we're doing it, conserve our natural resources as we're doing it. So I'm an educator. I do programming. I do consultation, the technical assistance, and alongside that, I'm really passionate about this as well because I also grew up in Howard County, and obviously I'm in the agriculture industry, growing up in a family of agriculturalists. And so really excited to be here, and I'm gonna let these guys just really quickly introduce themselves. Just quick, what's your name and what do you do? Who you work for?
Good afternoon. My name is Leslie Bauer. I live on Moral Rhythm Farm in Dayton, and we'll talk a little bit more about that in a few minutes. But I'm also president of the Howard County Farm Bureau, and I work as secretary-treasurer for the Howard County Fair.
I am Mary Wilde from 3 Dozen Daisies Farm with my husband and my 2 pigs.
I'm Kathy Johnson. I'm the Director of Agriculture Development for Howard County Economic Development, and then I also do a little bit of farming anti-home in Pennsylvania, but my family dairy farms in Montgomery County.
All right, thank you guys. We're really excited again to be able to just sort of talk about, celebrate, discuss agriculture in Howard County. In a lot of ways, history can be traced through agriculture and the work that we have done. And so all of us this time when I say we. And so for the first question, I'd ask that you guys just share your roles. You did that already a little bit. I'll need to share more. And then with farming in Howard County, and then in the Farm Bureau, you're involved in the Farm Bureau. And what are a few of the biggest challenges today in your farming operation, Howard County?
So our family car, like I said, it's in Dayton, Maryland, and we are our hen farm is 175 acres. We're a little bit of a diversified farm. My husband grows traditional bread crops like corn, rye, soybeans, and a little bit of hay. In addition to the 175 acre comb farm that we have, we also farm roughly about number 650 acres around the county. So in addition to that, we raise some beef cattle. That's on one of my pet projects, and my son raises bugs. And I also have a high tunnel that I work produce at. So that usually, no 2 days, I was saying on the farm, and when you're diversified like that, it makes it even a little more exciting. When I work with Farm Bureau, I'm gonna, and this is the point where I talked a little bit about this year Farm Bureau. So we just marked our 100th anniversary about 2 years ago. It was initially Howard County Farm Bureau was initially formed in 1923. And a lot of what Farm Bureau does is to promote, educate, and advocate. As you talk about some of the challenges that we face, there's a few handouts. I don't know if anybody saw them or are interested in picking them up on the side, but there is a little bit that gives a little bit of demographics of Howard County Agriculture Day. There's a history that had been written by our Vice President, Dr. Marvin Pillay, and on the back of that, you'll see there's a listing of all of our Hast farmyard crescents. So you'll notice that there's a lot of old family names that tend to stick with farmyard. The last piece I'm going to talk about challenges. I did a copy of a printout of it's out of Farmer's Share, and you talk about prices of food at the grocery store. You see what you pay for the grocery store, but that gives you a picture of what the farmer actually gets in his pocket. So we get pennies on the dollar for most of the things that you're purchasing in a grocery store. And that could be one of our challenges, probably one of our biggest challenges in agriculture today, are prices. And it's the cost of input for our supplies, as well as what we receive for our finished product that we're selling for harvesting out of the field. So sometimes prices that we're receiving for products can be as low as things from back in the 1960s or 70s. So prices haven't moved a whole lot. When they might go up, then they come back down. But at the same time, our costs have grown dramatically. I don't know if I have time. I'm going to show a few slides of a few things and just talk about some things. So on our farm, there's some different crops that we grow, the corn and we do a little bit of wheat, not much, soybeans and rye. So there we go. So there is a tractor and a planter, and just in today's dollars, that tractor is going to run $30,000 to $50,000 used, and some tractors could be as much as $180,000 new. That planter that's being pulled behind that tractor, that's a $60,000 piece of equipment. The next picture, I think that's a sprayer. It's hard to tell from here. So my son actually when he graduated from college, he's been working for a fertilizer company. He's been an applicator spraying, and he actually just bought a new to him but used sprayer. And used sprayers can run $250,000. A new one would be $500,000. Similarly, our family has 2 combines. This is one that my son runs. It's a Gleaner. And that one is about $80,000, and that's used. And this is a International Harvester combine that my husband usually runs, and that one is about a $200,000 piece of equipment. So things aren't cheap. And then we have, of course, technology and everything. So everything has GPS tracking in it. We have the monitor that is on the left side of the screen is tracking as we're planting. It's mapping as we plant. And the monitor on the right side of the screen is kind of tracking the harvest data as we're planting. It's telling us how many bushels per acre we're harvesting. It's put out to the field, as well as moisture content and things like that. And of course, we store everything in Raymond's, and we'll sell it when it's all said and done. We also do conservation practices on our farm. We do things like crop rotation, and we do cover crops in the wintertime to help protect the soil. Crop rotation, again, one crop will deplete certain nutrients, another crop will put it back in. So we do a lot of crop rotation. This right here is a cattle well, and this is a conservation practice that we have used on our farm. It was taking water from a naturally running well, and we were able to harness that into a water tank. I told my husband that one year he gave a hot tub for our anniversary. That's there. But anyway, and then the cattle, then they have constantly fresh water that runs through it. And it doesn't freeze in winter because it's constantly flooding. When we have water, we've had a couple of dry summers, and you can see the fiddle on the right. That has been dry for pretty much about 2 years now. So we're back to the old-fashioned way of watering our cow. So that's a few things kind of about our farm. And I'm going to turn it over to Mary and let her tilt the walls.
All right. So my farm's about as different as it can get from Husley's. We have 5.5 acres. We bought the property in 2016. We've been officially farming it for other people as of 2021. And I had been working for the federal government at Court Need for the past 13 years. I finally quit that job to farm full-time this year, in March of this year. I'll be telling you. And so it's been quite the year having that transition from being at a desk job to farming. We didn't come from the farming background. John had some experience farming. He grew up in North Carolina. He worked a little bit on a tobacco farm. But I grew up in Columbia next to Canada. It's not a farm. And my family didn't come from farming background. They were Baltimore City. So it's been a lot of learning, a lot of trying to figure it out for ourselves. Luckily, we have extension and other groups to help us do that. This is a picture of part of our farm, some of the older buildings. So though the farm was new to us, it was very old. The property itself has a log cabin at the center of our house that predates 1840. It's been added on to over the years. The barn, which you can see kind of at the back of the picture there, is a timber crane barn constructed in about 1860. And the corn crib, which is the 3-bay red building there, is from about 1920. So we have a lot of old buildings on the property, which are in need of maintenance and such, but we are trying to use them in our daily operation to keep them standing, them in good stead. So this is the bottom of the barn. When we first moved in, it wasn't looking so great, and we thought as a bird floor, it's beautiful, but he did a lot of the work. And one of the things that we do on our farm is grow vegetables and flowers to sell at our farm stand. And the farm stand is located at our house. This barn is along the road, so it's a perfect place to sell our goods. And so this year we got a grant and also put in a lot of our own capital to restore it, to turn it into our farm stand and processing space. And this is the after. Obviously, I can still do a lot more to make it beautiful, but it's at least most of the way there. And we've been able to sell out of it through the summer this year, which has been really exciting. And one of the biggest draws to our farm has been people wanting to check out the barn and talking about how beautiful it is and how excited they are to see that it's still in use. And it truly is beautiful with all the stonework and the hand-hewn buffer. And this is on the boat side. We also put in parking. Before it was just dirt and muddy and not very safe for our customers. So that was a huge project and a really big win for us. I'm going to be doing this full time. I want to have a good place to sell our goods out of. We also sell to the Roving Madish, which is a Howard County grocery store and food kit service that offers some subsidies for low-income families, but also it's general local food for anyone in Howard County. See if there he is. Another of the big infrastructure projects that we did this year is putting up a high tunnel. In Phantom, we were able to get financial assistance for buying the high tunnel, but we had to put it up ourselves. And doing that in the middle of the winter last year was a lot of fun. It was myself, my husband, and my dad out there in January trying to build this thing, and it didn't come with a manual. So that was really exciting. And both my father and husband are engineers, so you can imagine the discussions that they were having. This is the inside. A lot of growing space. This is obviously before we had anything growing in it. And I was joking with Leslie about she has a lot of experience growing in a high tunnel. I do not. I can assure you it takes a learning. It's not as simple as just putting things in the ground. But as farmers always say, there's always next year. And for our biggest challenges, we do overgrowing kind of in an old style. I do absolutely no pesticides and no herbicides. I really want to make sure this produce is healthy. My kids are 6 and 4 years old. They'll come out and pull carrot out of the ground and start eating it. I don't have to be worried about there's yucky chemicals on there. I have a lot of problems with pests. I have a lot of that's bugs, but also things like foxes going after my chickens, the rabbits eating up my lettuces. So we're just doing a lot of manual controls for these things. But also weeding and cultivation is a huge time suck, and I'm the only person doing work. So this year we decided to upgrade with a 1953 tractor. And I was pickling because he's talking about her tractors. This is $500. And it's not functional. Oh, my husband is working on it today. Can't get it on the printing. So again, we're trying to do things on small scale. We don't have a ton of capital that we can throw at things. And we're small scale in general, but we're putting a lot of love into it, a ton of work, and our customers seem to be happy with what we're getting out of it. And this is what a real little in good production from Leslie's farm looks like. So I just had a few photos from some growing season. This is strawberries. There's row covers. That's what you see, the white on this left side. When we have frost concern or frost protection, we put the row covers over them, uncover them in the morning, and then you can see the strawberry crop with their balloon, and of course the harvest is strawberries. So that's kind of what the inside of it would look like during a broccoli season. Mary may not use you may not have using landscape fabric on yours, but I kind of do that to keep the between the rows clean. But I'm sure you'll have other methods that you may use. We will. That's all I have. Here's.
Oh, no. So I have worked for economic development as the agriculture development specialist for 18 years now. I said, I come from a dairy farm, and at the age of 15, I went to my mom and dad, and I said, I know what I want to do for the rest of my life. I want to farm with you. And my parents said, nope, absolutely not. Your brother will be staying on the farm. There's no room for anybody else. You need to go do anything else but agriculture. I didn't quite listen. So I have a degree in dairy science and ag business, and I ended up here after a few other educational programming jobs that I did. And I love what I do. I love working with this farming community. Howard County has been very accepting of me over the years, and we have a great partnership. Some of the things that I work with them on, through myself in the Office of Agriculture, which just opened last year across from the Howard County Fairgrounds. You're always welcome to come out and see us. We offer 2 grant programs. One I started about 16 years ago, and then it just started 2 years ago. And those are projects like Mary and Leslie talked about that they use to help do improvements on their farm or buy equipment, or if they have a new idea about something that they want to add to their farming enterprise that could help pay for that. So the grant I have is up to $20,000 for a project, and I can give about 5 to 6 projects a year. The other grant, you can get up to $250,000 for a project, but that eats up most of the money. So usually we don't award anybody that top amount. On average, our grants for that program run between $50,000 and $70,000 so that we can help more farmers. We've had great response since we've opened up both grants, which is really good, but it also shows us that there's a tremendous amount of need in the agriculture community for projects that they've been putting off for years on their farm. I also do educational programming at the schools when they would like me to come in. I work closely with our new ag program that's been up for 4 years now at the high school level. In Howard County, we now have an FFA program back in the school system, which is something that some of us have asked for years. They lost that program many years ago. And now we have students that are taking agriculture classes. They come from all the high schools in Howard County. They do this for their junior and senior year of high school. And they're competing in FFA programs. They were just at the national convention and did really well on some of their presentations. So there's a lot to be proud of that next generation, there's still large interest. And many of these students go on to college to study agriculture. I hire some of them as its interns in the summer, and I learn as much from them, or probably more than what they learn from me. But it's a great time. I have done a lot of legislative work. I'm working on changing legislation so that it benefits the farming community in Howard County. We have neighbor issues oftentimes where neighbors don't like the noises or the smells that come from the farms that we have to deal with. My response is, the farms were there first, but they don't always like that. but we do have 340 farms still in Howard County. Many of them are not being operated by the families. They're being rented out to our other farmers in the county, but we still have a large agriculture community. We didn't talk much about the Howard County Fair, but if you haven't been there, go. You'll see a lot of our ag community bringing projects out. We do a big booth through the Office of Agriculture that we do educational programming for children. We're there to answer questions. I do a magazine that I put out on the table over there. So you're welcome to help yourself. We do eat one of those every year about different farms in the county, focusing on them. And whatever the agriculture community needs is what I will try to do to help them. But it is great now having an Office of Agriculture to partner with so that we can get more done together.
Thank you guys. I really appreciate that. Lots of good thought-provoking things. I think we don't have a lot of time. We got to get to the next question, but a couple of things that I want to sort of pull out and identify is that how all four of us are, and that's symbolic of the whole agriculture industry, are possibly in different ways sometimes, but we're working towards trying to conserve and preserve natural resources, land, soil, water. All of those things are important, sometimes aided by doing things by hand, sometimes aided by doing things with technology. And I think we've seen some of that here. A little tidbit I'd like to pull out that I thought was interesting myself is we had grain bins, which is somewhat of the newer technology. And then we had a corn crib, even though you're not using it as a corn crib probably, but we had a corn crib which had both served similar purposes to store and keep the harvested corn, just different areas of agriculture. All right, guys. So for our next question, let's try to each like about 2 or 3 minutes. Take your time to interview. How would you like to see Howard County agriculture in the future?
So I think that how I would like to see Howard County agriculture, and some of that goes back to the challenges that we've shared and discussed here. And as you can see, the conventional farm, my family farm versus Mary's, that's one of the things I would like to see. Mary's are going to be the farms of the futures, and that's what's going to feed you. The farms of Howard County are going to become smaller, and we need to focus on continuing to support and word another challenge that we need to look at in the farms of the future is creating the next generation. And so again, the younger farm families, we need to make sure that we have good education and support in the schools so that these kids can learn and understand where their food comes from. Howard County Radio does an agricultural awareness day for 7th grade students. And the county, you do that in April. We usually bring in, we work with creative for middle schools each year. Last year, when somebody asked where their food came from, when my children were growing up and they told me their friends they lived on a farm, they were like, "But what do you mean? What do you do on a farm? We get our figured grocery score." Well, at Ag Awareness Day this year, that question was asked, and they're like, "Well, Bauer brings our feed." So we need to make sure these kids really know where their food's coming from. We need to make sure that we have the great programs. The reason Howard County has been so successful with farming and agriculture is because of the work of CAPI and our Office of Agriculture and Economic Development and the programs that they have provided, the support and the grant programs that they had given to the farmers. So those are things that I'd like to see. I'd like to see the ability and flexibility like them going to ball. But again, we talk about NEWOs and the ability for us to diversify and have some flexibility on we're missing out. Other counties have wineries, if people go to the wineries and enjoy an afternoon with their friends. Or, my son got married last year, but he got married on a farm in Frederick County because we can't have wedding days in Howard County. So, the ability to have some flexibility to do some of these extra events that would help support some of what we're doing at any farm and also bring some of that tourism into our county, because when they come to a wedding or they come to a winery, we're going to stop at a restaurant on the way here, and they're going to stay under a town and maybe slightly around the area for a few days. So that's kind of, just more support, bringing in the next generation and the education so the kids know where their food's coming from, and they'll want to grow up to be a farmer.
I'd like to see local food incorporated as the orange for our resources instead of being something that's sought out. All the people right now that are bidding food from me or from other local farms that are growing vegetables, they pretty much have to search it out. I want it to be in schools for school lunches. I want to see it in the grocery stores and local, actually to be local, not North Carolina. As local, it's better than a different country, but it's still not growing right here. No, we can do it here, at least for certain parts of the season. And for restaurants as well. Instead of it being a special thing on the menu, had it be the normal thing on the menu. Obviously, there's limitations for seasonality and certain crops. We're not going to grow bananas here, but let's at least make it a regular part of the menu in our towns. And I think if we have more small farms that are doing vegetables, that apple.
Education is always a continuing thing that I will, not only of our students, but of our communities. They don't understand. On average, we're more than 5 generations removed from the farm. We don't know what it's like to do that work. We don't know what it's like to grow our food. So continually educating the public so that they understand where their food is actually coming from. And bringing that next generation along is going to be an important part of that. And finding ways, land is extremely expensive. So how are we going to help that next generation who wants to farm be able to continue that farming? Those are some of the things I'm very passionate about. I have 4 sons. 3 of them have stayed in agriculture. And the one who didn't knew he wanted to be a police officer. But the 3 that did, none of them actually farm because they can't afford it. But they love working with their farmers, and eventually they go to have a farm. So those are areas that we need to continue to support and continue to work with.
Awesome. Very, very good. I was with the University of Maryland Extension. I guess that's what CAPI, that's part of our job, is doing education around agriculture, both for youth and general public, but also for our farmers, our youth farmers, our young farmers. One thing that I would pull out there, a theme sort of is of hope with the local food being everywhere, and some things that Leslie said is about trying to work with neighbors is, we've gone in history from the farm sort of being one of the central things of our communities. Now it's sort of on the outskirts. And so I think bringing a local boo back and working together with it to solve some of these issues. So last, and just maybe take a couple minutes so we have time for questions. What brings you joy in your role with farming and agriculture? Take you back. This.
I would have to say that for any of us sitting up here on the stage and any farmer that you talk to in Howard County, it's a passion. It's a lifestyle. For me, when I keep, and I talk about and normalizing having local food in restaurants, when I could sit down, when I prepare a meal and I could sit down and eat my supper at night, and I know that everything that is on the table is something that came off of my farm. And, that brings me joy. And the ability to share that and do that for others brings me joy. It's the thought of feeding a community or feeding other people. That brings me a lot of joy. The other thing that brings me joy is spending a lot of time with the animals. I love my cows. I love helping my son in the barn when he's had her baby takes because animals don't talk back. And they always appreciate what you do toward them. So those are like, there's just nothing, being out in fresh air, just the whole lifestyle is a different way of life. It's you have to kind of step back, slow down, and it really makes you kind of appreciate where you are and what we're doing just a little bit more.
I really love a beautiful radish. It's picking something that is perfectly formed, catalog beautiful. It's so rewarding. And I do talk to my clients to tell them they're doing great and cheer them on. I'm a plant, so not a people person. But another thing that that does bring joy. It's been unexpected. Is I do a lot of flowers at our current stands, and the response from people for that has been so incredible. People have reached out to me for baby showers, wedding showers, including things that I grew and really sweat and bled over in the most important days of their life. And there was a neighbor who told me that one of my customers that she's friends with, she used to come by every week after she had her chemo treatment because she wants something beautiful to bring her a little bit of happiness when she's going through a really hard time. And that just really touched me a lot that, I'm putting these things together, throwing them down at the stand, I'm walking away. I don't usually talk to my customers too much, but it still touches people in a really meaningful way on their day-to-day basis.
That's a hard one to follow. Actually, I get joy every day from working with the farming community. Yes, there's headaches, but to see the job that they do, as I said, my father's 82 years old. He still milks cows every day, twice a day. It's his passion, it's his love. And every farmer I work with, that's what I find. They don't do this for the money. They do it because they love it. It's why I still grow stuff. I miss the farm every day, but at least I can grow crops. And it's the passion that they have for what they do and providing the food that you eat. It means a lot to them that they can do that. And they don't make a lot of money off of it. Many farmers are struggling. That's why we do the graft programs. But they do it because they're passionate about it. They love what they do, and they love feeding the world. And that's important.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I would echo a lot of those comments. It's and I would encourage everybody here. Hopefully, there's some of us here that are avid gardeners or whatever already. I have just a couple acres, but only really one small garden that's in production. And honestly, it's my wife that does the work. But we can get a little bit of some of the things that they talked about, like having the things that we've grown on our plate. Most of what we are eating on that plate coming from our little farm, if you will. Even though it's a 20-foot by 30-foot garden, because you can grow a line. And so yeah, it's a blessing to be able to work with the people that is not perfect, but pulled together with it for a common reason. I think some common interests and actions, the outdoors, the land, food, and providing feeds. Now, I guess I would open it up for questions. But do you have any final comments?
One thing I would say, we have 5 farmers markets in Howard County that are open from May till the end of October. Support them. That's where a lot of our farming community sells their products, and where you have easier access, because most of those markets are on this side of the county, not on the western part. So.
All right, I'd love to open it up for questions.
I just want to comment. I'm going to go home and cook a warming radish meat today. Oh. You really appreciate Pogie Rack.
They're awesome. They've been great on my side too, because they will accept fairly small amounts. So since I'm small scale, I don't feel comfortable going to a farmer's market, sell me out for 5 minutes because I have 15 heads of lettuce. But they'll take it. And it's stupid temper.
Is there a resource that shows like where all the funny farm skins are? With the initiative of the farmer market?
There's a magazine over there that will show some of you, and then the Office of Agriculture has a new website that I believe has some of that on it. Plus, is that Hoko Fresh? Yeah, Fresh.
Oh, question. Did I understand correctly that do not what do you mainly in Army?
There is one that is approved, but they're limited on the number that they can have and the amount of hours during that time for the wedding that they can be open. They have to be done like by 9 p.m. And and I think they can only have like 4 hours during that time period.
Have you can dom passion anymore?
We actually have put in some new zoning regulation changes that will be going in front of the council. We get records this week. Yeah. So hopefully this month will be in front of the council with our farming community testifying to get some of those approved. And if you all want to come out and support it or approve it, speak, please come out. We appreciate the support.
It's a great question. Yeah, that. It's just Rigo. But precision cut skis under carrot, so often you see.
So, Kathy, I'm not sure if you had that number, and I don't know if it's on this. I believe it's around 25,000. I think roughly 25,000 has been put into preservation. Does that sound about right?
Stingy. 62%. Yeah. Okay. There's 300. I don't know if we said that. There's 340 farms in the county. That's the initial number. Not all of them are being farmed by their owners. They're being rented by other farmers,
And not all of them are preserved.
and not all of them are preserved.
And that's one of the challenges is there's a couple of challenges even with preserving it. I actually do sit on the county agricultural preservation board as well. But we have preserved. Howard County has an agricultural preservation program that has been looked at and tried to be modeled throughout this country. They were an early adopter to agricultural preservation, and we've done a great job of trying to preserve the land from developers, because when you look at Howard County, we're kind of like, if you fit in Howard County for any amount of time. I grew up here, and in the last 30 plus years, there's been a whole lot of change in Howard County and development. We have significant development pressure that we face every day. We're kind of midway between Baltimore and Washington. We've got Interstate 70 and Interstate 95 that are easily accessible. Everybody wants to be here. Land is our most valuable resource. And once it's gone, I'm not getting it back. So the challenge is to preserve it. But now we've preserved the ground. But I talked about some of the costs of stuff. I didn't really give a whole lot of rundown on what we're getting in on the flip side, what would you receive for our crops, but it's not a whole lot of money for the amount of money we're going to get to it. So now we need to look at preserving the farm. We need to look at preserving a farm. We need to be bringing the next generation back, because even though you have this preserved ground, what do you do with it? Sometimes the kids grow up and they don't want anything to do with the farm. Unfortunate, because our son has stayed on the farm and he, would like to continue. Whether he can afford to or not will be, the next question. I have a daughter who is similar to Kathy, who's involved in the agricultural industry. She works for a lot of the commodity groups that the soybean or the watermelon growers, and some other groups like that she's working to promote and do work with these commodity crews. But it's a hard life and it's a hard living, and it's not for everybody. So we need to, while we're preserving it, which is wonderful, and we have done a great job, you also need to make sure now that we found that end preserve, that we can also preserve the farmer. And the other piece to that is because we now have a preserved piece of property. The neighbors we've been next door, and they don't like the sounds or the smells, and they think it's their open park space that they can walk their dogs, ride their dirt bikes, things like that, which doesn't always go together well with farm, especially if we're running equipment. We don't know somebody's there, or that kind of thing. So they want the open space. They don't necessarily want the stuff of the farm that comes with it. So,
You have any comments? Get labor? You need much day. Please quit.
Did anybody want to add anything to the address before we get rest of the meal?
I'll add something real quick to the last question, and we all, because that's a really, really good question too. Just real quick that I'll sort of support what Leslie said. We've done a great job of preserving acres, and now the next job is to preserve the business, which starts with preserving the entrepreneur, or AKA farmer, and the new sort of future way that at least I think a lot of us are saying. Leslie's said it as well. It's more probably similar to Mary's farm, smaller farms, but to compete with smaller farms, that means we need to be more than just the farmer. Mary is the entrepreneur, or the marketer, the customer service person, all sorts of things, and the large farmer is already 150 things as well. And so yeah, we have our work cut out for us, because over decades and decades we've sort of streamlined the commodity farming, and sort of we have to do that and help with the local farm as well. But right now it's sort of everybody on their own, and it's hard, and us educators are trying to help, but it's difficult having to do that, having to be the producer, the social media marketer, all sorts of things. The next question was on labor. Do you have problems with labor, and do you need labor?
Yes. And I will let Mary, do you have anything you'd like to say first? I'm going to monopolize the answers. I am the labor. So I have to follow, if I get hurt or sick, then the arm is down. I'm not. Labor is often put as like the part. Finding help is often included as one of the most difficult things. I don't struggle with that because I don't want to bring additional people onto our property in this time. My husband keeps threatening that he's going to quit his job before the time. He needs to keep this job for the sake of our marriage, but that also we'll see. Labor in terms of just me getting the work done is really that's been extremely difficult this year, because I've had a lot of to pan for my stuff, which is amazing. But when it's just me planting, picking, cleaning, setting up a stand, doing marketing, it's tough to keep up with the demand. So labor is hard. That's why we're trying to go a little bit mechanized with the tractor, find a few labor saving things to do some mechanical cultivation, mechanical planting, but still keep it at a bare minimum in terms of hiring on additional noticeable ways to.
It's very hard in Howard County to find labor. Let's face it, agriculture doesn't pay a lot. I had a conversation with my brother just the other day on their harvest. They're harvesting corn and soybeans right now, but we were talking about the wheat. On his wheat that he harvested this year, he had a loss of $30,000. Okay? In the last 3 years, that's become the norm because of the drought. And being in Montgomery County, they didn't have the drought grants like we offer here in Howard County. And that was just a little bit of a Band-Aid just to help them be able to buy what they need for the next year's planting. So, everybody, I know I complained about my dry grass and stuff like that, but that means nothing compared to the livelihood of these farmers. Finding labor is very difficult because they can't pay as much, and they may pay in a couple different ways. They may give them a salary, but then they may give them meat and food like that to help cover some of their other costs, which helps. But also, people don't want to work that hard anymore. Let's face it. I mean, I do it because I love it. That's why I still do some of mine. It's a passion. But most people don't know what it's like to grow food and to work the long hours that they do when they're planting and harvesting, because you got to get it in before the next big rainstorm comes or the hurricane, whatever may happen that you don't know is coming. So you have to take care of all that. And people don't like putting in those long hours. We had 2 dairy farms left in our county. Nobody wants to milk cows anymore because it's dirty and it's long hours. You have to get up early in the morning. You milk them twice a day, sometimes 3 times a day. Some farms that are continuing to do the dairy farming are putting in robots because you can't find farm labor. So our next thing is, they're starting to develop tractors that can be driven from your office because we can't find people to drive tractors anymore. They just don't want to do that kind of work, and they want extremely high salaries. And we, as farming community, can't provide that.
So I want to just comment on one thing that Harriet talked about, that she's the labor, but for the hours that she's putting in, she's not even coming close to a year-old wage. And when we talk about your profitability on a farm, you never talk about the hours that we put in, because if you did, we'd be at a loss. And not only are you not eating minimum wage, you're not even making half minimum wage. So it's but on our farm, yes, labor is always a struggle. Right now currently we are harvesting corn and soybeans. That's why we have the 2 combines for running at the same time. So my son's somewhere doing one thing and my husband's another place doing another thing. Trucking, we truck everything out of the field and wait down to store it in our bins. So we need truck drivers. So it's not just anybody off the street. They got about a CDL license because they got it on a truck. The other piece to that is, in the midst of all this, we talked about that we also grow rye. I always like to say, because it is a neat little niche thing, rye's high, a crop that you actually see so much ground around here anymore. But we're actually growing rye for Sagamore whiskey. So that is a little bit of way to diversify, a little bit of something different that we could do, that we can make a little bit more money than our corn and our soybeans. But the rye is due on the ground now so that we can harvest it next July. It'll grow over the winter and then in the spring, and we'll harvest it in July. So as we're taking the soybeans off, we need to be planting rye in the ground. So we need somebody else who can run a tractor and a planter. So we need a trucker. We need somebody that can run a tractor and a planter. And up until probably the last year, my 85-year-old was one equipment, and I find and for him it's a great joy if he goes doing it. But it's got to the point where his health is misbud, and I feel that it's more a risk and a liability to have him run my trappers and equipment than to let him do that. So, now we're down an employee, and, we'll kind of find everybody and anybody, that wants to come out and run a tractor for a day. But you also got to know how to use all the technology that goes with it as well. So, yes, labor is huge, and it just can't afford to pay these people. And, I mean, the trucker, I'm feeding him a lot of these lights, and that's just, we kind of beg, borrow, and steal wherever we can.
The economics is making it so that we need more land to be able to or we need to do bitch things, but more land means we need more labor, or we need better technology to take over the labor. One thing I'll add, maybe some people in the room could appreciate, but we used to, when we would bale hay and bale straw, this was probably before my time, or maybe when I was young, but it was a sort of a high schooler's job to sack it as it spike out. Hey, yeah, it was kids' jobs to get it from the field to the wagon, and then once the wagon got to the barn, from the wagon to the barn, and some of them are still doing it sort of that way, but there's also stackers. There are machines that take care of all of that, and it stacks before it even leaves before it even leaves the field. So, lots of different changes to try to overcome these cars.
This may be a manual question, like how much amount they do you make it now to work a farm, take a farm? Harry, I'm sure you need 50 years now, or 50 years down.
Well, I don't know, over 50, but probably 100 years ago, a lot of stuff that was done by horse. Our first tractors or combines or things like that were through horses. And, through the years, we've gotten away from that, what was the original horsepower, to, fuel power, horsepower. And so it definitely, I think, was more labor intensive. I'd like to think technology has made it some way less labor intensive, but more costly. I mean, if you go up into Pennsylvania, or even now, I guess, keep going to Carroll and Frederick County, where they have the Amish that are farming, they still kind of farm a little bit, with some of those older technologies, but it takes a lot more geeks. So then, and that's part of why there, I guess, has been, I mean, some of it was to improve and to get better yields and be able to grow more food with less. But at the same time, as people had brought on to run away from the farm, you just don't have the help to do it. And so technology has kind of had to evolve to accommodate that as well. I mean, I don't know if one evolved to accommodate the other, but it's just gone that way. Same thing with producing more food or less than. Yeah, so it really continues.
And it's why there were larger families. The families had more children back in those days to help. They were farm labor, and that's the way it was. And you still see that in the Amish and the old order Mennonite families. They still have larger families because they are their farm labor, and they do a lot of that work. It's there's still a lot that has to be done by hand that most people don't realize.
Yeah, the statistic you're looking for is probably people per acre, because we can't, if 100 years ago it was, maybe the family milk cow or something, things like that. But
I was going to get any examples of where also prices are under produce and the livestock already.
I did think looking. The only thing that I brought that I did look up that we didn't talk about, and it's not so much on the produce and the livestock, but on our corn that we're harvesting right now. So it costs us about $1,000 an acre to plant our corn, and right now, the current market price is $4.60 a bushel for that corn. So if we're lucky, we're making about $75 per acre on our corn crop, and that $4.60 per bushel. Again, that goes back to the overprices that you saw in the 70s and 80s. Is that what?
I said that's gone.
No. Well, you know what? There was a little blip because I can remember last time where I thought we had like a great year. We were getting $8 a bushel per corn. But tell me how many jobs that you work that you take a pay cut. There's people get increases every year, and so there was a year where it was like the one golden year. But we're back down to $4.60, and even earlier, I think was it last year, we were closer up to $5 and we dropped down to $4.60. It's similarly on soybeans. It costs us about $600 an acre to plant soybeans currently, and this is something that I don't know where people stand on politics, but we can thank some of our trade deals that we've done just recently within the last week or two with China. Our soybeans have bumped up to $11 per bushel. They were like about 10, $50 or $10 per bushel, and within this we made this new trade deal. $11 per bushel is where we go up to. So we can make about $10 per acre on soybeans. No lot.
It's not what you figure equipment, fuel, labor, the seed. Yeah, when you put everything into it, that's up.
Yeah, you're virtually giving away the labor.
You're not. Well, that's just it. My son and my husband are both. They're out, early, and it's usually this time of year. I would see them until 9 or 10 o'clock at night. I'm feeding the cows. Well, they're my babies, so I do anyway. But my son comes home, and this is also the time of year when we need to breed pigs. So we'll have him for the spring. He sells a lot of pigs to 4-H kids, showed him like a fair. So he'll come home, and it'll be 10 o'clock at night, or it might be 2 or 3 in the morning, and he might be down to arm breeding pigs and take care of pig business. So that can be right. About that to do with the winter spring. So it is the time lot. It's a lot of work, and some days you wonder about. So, but yeah. Did you look up any? Oh, right here.
Price did end up getting the prices, but I for if it's costing $1,000 for corn per acre, then lucky is the way to make $75.
And then I think, and Kathy, you might be able to help me with this one, because I think like right now I have heard on these cattle, I don't know how much the finished product is, but the calves have been going for like $1,000, $1,500 to buy a calf that are going to feed to grow out to butcher. So and those have gone, which is part of the reason why when you talk about the price of beef in the stores, and they were talking about the price of beef going up a bit, there's beef shortage because nobody wants to feed cattle when you could sell them for $1,000 a head. Is that I mean, I think that number spring numbers are low, so that I'm encouraging feeding more cattle right now. So, meat prices are up a little bit. Milk prices not gone up. I think that might be on that farm Michelle. Sure. As all. And again, yeah, our milk prices tend to stay fairly low as well. So they won't fluctuate too much.
And that's the big, we talk a lot about the challenges of being smaller and having even more hats than the larger farmer already has to wear. Or maybe not more hats, but just complex hats. But that's a good thing about being smaller potentially is if you are marketing yourself, you're price, sort of a price maker a little bit at least. And if you're a larger commodity farmer, then you're obviously price payer. And we're talking about China and Argentina and Brazil and what's going on all around the world because it all depends. Our farms here that are price makers are depending on those things, those permits. So it looks like we're out of time. I would just want to say thank you guys for coming. Do you want to have one final thing on Farm Bureau?
Oh, just, I don't.
Okay. Yeah.
So I brought some pictures of their area pictures from the 70s, 80s, and 90s of our farm over there. And there's also, our house is listed on the Howard County Register of Historic Places. And I thought that might be of interest to you all. And then there's also the write-up from the Historical Society on the history of the farm. So if you were curious about it. Okay, where are you? Oh, I guess I should have said that. So it's practically Lisbon. Our address is Woodbine, but I'm very close to the Lisbon Circle on 144. But Veryland is, I'm not on their road, but I could throw a rock at them basically.
Daisy Road. Daisies Road. Riga's base. It's Days. About like flower.
I buy the flowers from the elderly. Yeah. Yeah.
My wife loves the flowers.
Yeah, just like say that, Donna. It was nice to be able to come and share it. Hopefully, you all enjoyed the conversation.